Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in just a minute. We know the noon hour, so some people might just be finishing their lunch before they hop on here. So we'll give everyone a little bit to get in, but we do just ask if you don't mind muting yourself so that we don't have any feedback during Anna's presentation. And we'll get started in just a second here. Okie dokie. Well, Anna, I know you have the more important stuff that you're going to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off so that you have enough time to present on all the awesome stuff that you are doing at Apex. Because let's be honest, my stuff's a little bit boring. So Zach, we'll go ahead and get started here and go through the introduction slides, and then Anna, the floor will be yours. So welcome, everyone. My name is Danielle Blount. I'm a senior program manager here at Launch New York. I oversee our mentoring program and our specialty programs, including Eco Incubator and Founders Go Big, and supporting companies working with their entrepreneurs in residence to get investment ready for Launch New York. So Launch New York, our mission is to identify, support, and invest in high-growth companies to drive job growth and wealth creation in upstate New York. If you are an entrepreneur in one of the highlighted regions, basically everywhere west of Albany, we are here to support you with one-on-one mentoring and then access to early-stage seed funding. So those two things really pair together to help you scale and grow your businesses. Plus, we've got amazing partners like Apex that we also can connect you to. So if you're looking to work with us, the best way is to just apply online at launchy.org. What will then happen is we will get you connected with one of our 40 plus entrepreneurs in residence to work with you directly to then work to become a scalable startup and apply for early venture funding from Launch New York and then also other investors. We also have specialty programs, including our Eco Incubator, which is for climate tech companies, supported by NYSERDA. Founders Go Big, which is for underrepresented founders and is supported by JP Morgan Chase. And then our technical assistance program, which is supported by New York State SSBCI programming, where we can provide direct support for legal, accounting, and other work to help you sort of overcome barriers in starting your businesses. And Zach will drop links to all of those so that we won't get into more details in the chat. And then we also do direct investing into companies for it, which is for a venture development organization is our exciting part. So we do that through our nonprofit seed fund. And then we also have two for-profit funds. And then we also have an investor network of nearly 500 accredited investors that will invest deal by deal alongside Launch New York. So we are here to get you connected to capital quickly and efficiently to help you scale and grow your business. Perfect. And then the reason we're all here, I'm happy to introduce Anna Balaj Fitzsimmons, who has over 27 years of experience in marketing, communications, economic development, and government contracting. Since 2008, she has been helping businesses throughout upstate New York successfully sell to the government, serving as program director since 2015 and prior as a business development manager. Anna has successfully expanded the territory to include the 13 counties surrounding Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse. This strategic alignment focuses on critical technology areas in advanced manufacturing, microelectronics, innovative technologies, and more. So Anna, thank you so much for sharing about Apex and all the work you're doing. I love to say to founders, there's no better customer than the United States government because they usually pay their bills. So we can help more companies get to that.
Very true, Danielle.
That's the best. Uncle Sam, he pays
Yeah.
on time.
And they pay fast.
And they do pay fast. We love that.
Yeah.
So welcome, and I'm going to hand it over to you to explain a little bit more about what you do at Apex.
Thank you so much, Danielle and team. I appreciate you guys having me here today. And thank you all for joining today's presentation. So I'll be talking about our Apex Accelerator, who we are, our mission, and what are some critically important areas you need to be aware about if you're thinking about doing business in the defense or government industrial base. See if I can move my slide. There we go. So a little bit about the authorization of the program and our mission. We've been authorized by Congress since 1985. We originally were under management by Defense Logistics Agency. In 2022, someone in Congress moved us up to the Pentagon level. So we are administered under Deputy Assistant Secretary of War Industrial Base Growth. Just changed all that. So there we go. And our Apex Accelerator's mission is to serve as the access for existing new businesses, to strengthen the defense industrial base by accelerating innovation, fostering ingenuity, and establishing resilient and diverse supply chains. And I'll talk a little bit more. We do a lot more than that. Of course, we are one of 4 Apex accelerators in New York State, in addition to our Native American Apex Accelerator. But there's a network of over 90 centers across the country, including territories of Guam, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So there's our outlying territory in green. Empire Apex Accelerator is in blue. And then we have the New York City Apex Accelerator, and then one that covers Queens and LaGuardia Community College. Okay, so first I want to help you understand a little bit about the mindset, if you will, and the strategic priorities of the Apex Accelerator. And here are some 4 key areas, cultivating and sustaining the defense industrial base and the government industrial base. So when we say government industrial base, we mean all other federal agencies, states, municipalities, and large prime contractors. We work with the whole ecosystem. We don't just work with small businesses, but we want to increase that contractor readiness and also build, if you will, redundancies in the supply chain, which is becoming increasingly important. We help facilitate innovation. And I'm sorry, I'm going to start speaking in acronyms. Just stop me anytime and feel free to ask questions anywhere. With the DIB and GIB, so the Defense and Government Industrial Base, we do focus on some key technology areas. There are multiple agencies in the federal government that have innovation funding, as I'm sure you may be aware. However, the most funding is in the defense agencies, and there's about 14 components that participate in CyberCenter. Cybersecurity, critically important, and increasing the awareness of foreign ownership, control, and influence, and then strengthening the supply chain through some other unique programs within defense. Now, every time I hear one of the Assistant Secretary of War speaking, they always want to highlight to everyone, to industry, the acquisition transformation strategy. So I strongly recommend that you do read it so you can get an idea of, what are the priorities for the Department of Defense? What are those technologies that they're rating, that we need to outpace our adversaries on, and to help give you some direction on where, if you are starting to commercialize a product or have commercialized a product, how can that transfer over into the government domain? The critical technology areas that have been identified used to be about 14 of them. As of the beginning of this year, they reduced them down to 6. I shouldn't say reduced, I'd say consolidated. And these are very important. So we have applied artificial intelligence, biomanufacturing, contested logistics technologies, which when I first saw that, I'm like, what exactly does that mean? We'll talk about that in a second. Quantum is really important. So is scaled hypersonics and scaled directed energy. But when we're talking about contested logistics, it's kind of like the catch basin, if you will. So, it's really with technologies and tools and systems designed to sustain military operations in all environments where our adversaries can actively target and disrupt supply chains and across every domain. So air, land, sea, space, cyber, electromagnetic spectrum. So that's kind of the catch basin, if you will, of everything else that fits in there. So think microelectronics and so forth. This is a fantastic resource funded through Department of Defense that supports cyber compliance. I'm sure you've all heard a lot, and we'll talk a little bit more because there has been a pause on one of the levels of CMMC compliance. But Project Spectrum will provide free support on cyber resources available to small business. They have platforms. If you're a small business, you can sign up and utilize the different platforms, and they'll help you with some of these core competencies. So that cyber readiness check. They have a cyber dashboard. They provide curriculum as well and training courses, as well as tool reviews. They talk about and give you resources to continuous threat research, security and risk assessment tools. They do have compliance guidance, system security plan reviews, and plan of action and milestone reviews as well. So, frankly, right now, anybody that wants to do business, in particular with the Department of Defense, has to have a minimum of CMMC level 1. It's critical that everybody has that. And if you're going and looking to do any type of small business innovation research or tech transfer with that's where you partner with the university, you have to minimally have that as well. So really important. And, rumor is, I've always said that whatever starts at, in defense usually flows down to other federal agencies, and other federal agencies are already talking about, cyber compliance. I mean, frankly, it's just good hygiene when you're setting up your business, right? We don't need our adversaries in any way, shape, or form. They're hacking everybody out there, but we don't need them getting our drawings or any type of IP and so forth. Which gets me to the next topic of information that I'm obligated to talk to you about, and that is foreign ownership, control, and influence. So, as you're building your business and you're getting investors, it's really important to understand who these LLCs are that you may be taking money from. So, who will have access to your critical technologies that you're building, or just any type of IP that you're building. So, you need to understand where that money is coming from, who's behind it, and do your due diligence, because foreign influence can take many forms. Frankly, the best story I think I heard was from a guy that worked in the FBI, and he was talking about how, okay, for instance, we'll use China as the big bad guy because they kind of are. And they had, if you live in the United States and you still have family back in their mainland, they will, you're required to send them information, anything, so your family isn't punished. And as somebody whose family escaped from a communist country, I know that to be true. So yeah, you've got to really understand, your interaction with individuals. So these folks will just come in for an interview sometimes just to get anything to save a family member. So you got to be careful, and understand everything, all your information, and protecting it. And when we talk about industrial base analysis and sustainment, what the heck does that mean? So you all know that critical minerals, we're way behind the ball on that in terms of mining, and just have, for the past, I would say, it's ramped up in the past 5 years, started to ramp up, where they're mining across the country for critical minerals. So we don't have to depend on anyone. We have it in-house, if you will. That's really important. So that's critical minerals, kinetic weapons. Workforce development is a huge issue. We're doing shipbuilding, right? We can't keep pace with what our adversaries in China are building ships. It's a minimum of 10 to 1 a year, and theirs is probably more like 20 to 1. So and one of our biggest problems is workforce. We don't have that anymore. We don't have the shipyards we used to have. So this investment in infrastructure that we're seeing now is for that reason, is to rebuild. Microelectronics, if you're from Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, and the surrounding area, you understand what's going on in microelectronics, and that we're a hub right now that's being built by Micron, and how important that is. Same with energy storage and batteries, very critical. Castings and forgings. We've spent decades as a country shipping our manufacturing overseas. And several years ago, I was down in Wyoming County visiting a company that had for decades made, using castings, had made a specific component for a tank, and they got sold to a Chinese company. And the first thing that happened was all their castings were destroyed. And so, that's how your competitor and adversaries are going to roll. And so, this program here specifically addresses and monitors and assesses the current state of the defense industrial base. They address the critical issues across the DIB-related urgent operational needs. They address supply chain vulnerabilities, and they support efforts to expand the DIB. So when you read about those articles where a lot of, hundreds of millions of dollars are being invested in critical minerals and mines, that's usually where this is usually the program that's behind it. There is a mentor protege program through DOW's Office of Small Business Programs. And, this is a great program, but it takes really a relationship to find a mentor. So not only does the Department of Defense have a mentor protege program, the Small Business Administration does as well. However, I will say DoD mentor protege program does offer a financial incentive for large businesses to support and help grow small businesses. So, we talk about helping eligible businesses expanding their footprint in the defense industrial base, helping to meet national security priorities, again, building those redundancies within the system in case of time of need and we need to move forward. And also it builds competition for the government, which equals cost savings, increasing capabilities and facilitating and enhancing long-term business relationships is important. And that's what this program's about. But, I get the question, well, how do I get a mentor? And if you are somebody who, say, you've been a long time supplier to BAE Systems or Lockheed Martin or L3 Harris, well, hopefully they have a spot where they're willing to create a mentorship. They do them. You would think that there would be hundreds of them, but they're not, because they have to allocate funds and resources, and they're required for every government contract that they work on, to allocate every single dime, every single minute of their time to particular contracts. So hence the DoD putting money behind this, saying, okay, we're able to fund your staff's time to support building these small businesses. And these are new, and I mean very new. We're talking about a couple of registration portals that are critical and that have just been released. The Links was released first. For years, the Department of Defense did not have one single portal for businesses, industry, in particular, in this case, manufacturers, to register to do business with them, or to at least get in, to some sort of database. You would think registering in sam.gov was the database. It is not. Most agencies have their own databases that they build. This is very targeted toward the manufacturing community and building it up. And linked in with that, and part of Links is the Civil Reserve Manufacturing Network that was established in Section 1841 in fiscal year 26 NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. And basically what it does is allows the mobilization of the commercial base to provide distributed on-demand manufacturing capacity in a time of need. So the strategic purpose, what is that? It serves as a critical asset to ensure America can build and scale at the speed of relevance, particularly in a moment of national mobilization when we need. I mean, we're talking about how low we are on, certain weapons and things of that nature. And, can we scale up in time if something bad were to happen? So that's what these two systems are about. And it allows, right now, there's like 3 interfaces in particular for Links, which is kind of the master of these two systems. There's the Apex interface where you can connect with your Apex Accelerator. Of course, you can connect with your Apex Accelerator in multiple different ways. There's also the interface for the buyer. In this case would be every defense component agency that's out there. And they're also talking about building an interface for large prime contractors to find you. So the system's pretty cool because it does help you build a capability statement within there. And, also list all your capabilities in there through your NAICS codes and things of that nature. So you're, again, easily found. So it also provides matches for you in terms of prospective opportunities to bid on. So those would be automatic as well. So really good systems. We've been given our directive. I was at a training conference last week, and Deputy Assistant Secretary of War for Industrial Base Growth, Mr. James Mismash, directed us that we need to get, we shall, no, we must get all our manufacturers in links. That's a priority for defense right now. So, we're focusing on that as well as many other things, but that is a priority for us. If you're a manufacturer, you're out there, or you're looking to build, or an innovator, we need to get you in links. There are some steps that need to be taken. You do have to have some CMMC compliance and so forth, but very important. And how many of you have ever bid on small business innovation research or technology, small business tech transfer programs? So hopefully some. And the Department of War's Super Sitter program is pretty robust and very well funded. So it's probably defense's funding for Super Sitter gets the highest from Congress out of any other agency. That I think NSF gets a good amount, but nothing tops DOW. So they do have, the Super program does have three-phase process to solicit proposals, and they're actively every month they're reviewing them, and they're also creating these great portals and interfaces where you can submit a video, if you will, of the product or service that you're offering. It's kind of like a pitch deck, right? And it's on file if you get approved to go in this database, and then by the agencies can look and say, oh yeah, we need that. And you would think that there are so many people working among the agencies in these super sitter areas, and they're not. It's a small community. They know each other. So they talk to each other, and they understand what their needs are. So that's a good thing for you, right? In terms of word of mouth, and if you have something that they really need, but they do list what their needs are, and that's something we would walk you through. There's a lot of importance right now being put behind innovation when it comes to our country's needs in terms of purchases, right? And really cutting through red tape and how they're buying. So they are using like other transactional authorities to purchase items here through Sitter, kind of a, yeah. And so, when you think of Sitter and you're talking with another agency, they always refer to them, or you're talking to the SBA, they refer to them as grants. Defense does not. These are contracts. They refer to them as contracts. They are contracts when you talk to them. So be aware of that. And they want the innovation from small business. They want to know what you're solving. They want to see it through your eyes as a small business. They want the creativeness. You are not burdened by all the paperwork and the layers of management like as a large business is. So this can be a quicker turnaround. And there's a lot of funding that's going on in our region in the Super Sitter program. And we'll be bringing some folks here October 13th from one of their program, the DOW Super Sitter transitions program here. Their director will be here speaking. So he's got some great information. One of the things that they say they don't want, and they're not funding anymore, is high school projects. They're not, for many, many years in the past, there were, as they used to call them, Sibber mills. They would just do phase ones. There's phase 1, 2, and phase 3. But they don't want that anymore. They want to know that your product's going to be commercialized and have a dual use. So that's what they're interested in funding. What do we actually do? So here at the Apex Accelerator, how do we help small businesses? First, you're going to sign up to meet with us. We're required to have you sign up because of how we're funded. through DOW, IBG, Industrial Base Growth, and through our host agency. Every center has a host agency. We are headquartered out of Rochester, New York. Our host agency is Monroe County, the County Monroe Industrial Development Agency, to be more specific. And so, while the majority of our funds do come from Department of Defense, we do travel also throughout the corridor to Buffalo and Syracuse and so forth. But once you sign up for these free services, we're going to do a suitability assessment to see if you're ready, capable, and able to sell to the business, to the government. I mean, do you really have a business? The only time that we're not looking for commercial sales is if you're focusing on innovative technologies. If you're focusing on innovation and innovative technologies and you're doing R&D, that's a total different aside for us. Okay. But if you are a small business and you're working full time still and trying to do a side hustle, it's hard to get the government to even get you certified for anything, frankly, let alone, especially New York State, boy, they're rough. Let alone sell to the government. So we're going to do that suitability assessment. We're going to sit with you and do all the registration assistance required. What does that mean? Everything from federal, state, local registrations that are essential in order for you to sell to the government. Grouped in that are the certifications as well. Okay. So even though right now, as you've probably read in the news, as far as the federal government is concerned, small businesses and the set-asides have changed a little bit and been challenged in terms of how contracts are let. However, you will see that, and we were still finding until there's further direction, that like a large prime contractors still have their requirements to meet in terms of set-asides as well. And so do agencies. So that whole registration assistance package, the market research, which is critical. A lot of people think like this is where we do and what we do the most, but we don't. And I'm going to talk to it in a second. But the market research is critical. So who's buying what you're selling? I like to say the federal government purchases everything from toilet paper to tanks, which they do. But, there are certain things that, there are a few things that they don't purchase. There are, or very, very, very rarely. I will say one of the things we don't do as far as training goes is we will get folks that call us and want us to train them to do what we do so then they can turn around and charge you, small business, for those fees. So no, we don't train consultants for sure. That's one thing we won't do. But we offer the bid opportunity identification where we pay for it through our budget for our active clients once you're registered in SAM. And so we make sure that you have that as an opportunity because this is where we want you. We want to get you ready and we want you to understand contracting. And then we want you to start bidding on contracting. In addition to that is the networking that we offer through our live events, our government to business matchmakers. We actually do a virtual one as well. Every year we partner with all the Apex accelerators throughout New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. And we put on a pretty good show and it works very well with connecting with buyers. But really the real meat and potatoes for us is the proposals and the contract support. So those proposal reviews. Now, the one thing we're not going to do for you is we're not going to read the contract for you. You have to sign it. We want to make sure you've read it and have some semblance of understanding of what you're signing up for. Okay. And we'll walk you through what you don't understand by all, for sure. However, we're going to tell you, read it 3 times, highlight everything you don't understand. Okay, let's sit down and hash through it. So, that's proposal support. And then once you've written it, I've got one sitting on my desk right now, a technical volume that's going to be, from a client that we're reviewing for responsiveness. And what does that mean? You have provided the government with everything that they've requested in that proposal, like they requested it. Did they say 10 pages and you've submitted 11? The first thing they're going to do is tear off page 11. Did they say 12-point font times New Roman? single spaced and you've, put 10 point, again, it's non-responsive. Silly things like that will get you, on the chopping block. And we don't want that to get in the way of you winning a great opportunity. So also, helping you with those accessing those solicitation packages. And you may need, there may be some other requirements in order for you to access them. Being in System Forward Management, which is the mandatory government registration for anybody, federal registration, I should say, for anybody that wants to sell to the federal government. You have to be in SAM. However, that doesn't mean anything beyond that in terms of you being able to access packages that may have some semi-secure data in them. And you would need to have other types of certification to access them, and you're not even aware of it, right? You're like, why aren't these drawings available to me? So understanding pricing, uh, obviously, your industry. I will tell you the days of unicorn pricing are long gone with the federal government. So that had a lot to do with set asides as well. So they're looking for pricing that they understand you're in business to make money, which is fine, but they're going to question your margins, and that's for sure. So and then ensuring that you're also in your pricing, you're understanding, what those real costs are to you. You may have undercharged them. And we want to make sure that you're understanding those real cost implications and what you should be including in that pricing proposal. So there's that. And then, making sure that you're capturing every contract opportunity. The worst thing you can do in government contracting is win a proposal and not deliver. You don't want to do that. They have whole systems where they rate you, and that's not how you want to start out. So that contract support as well is critical. I've won, now what? It's first time. I'm not sure. It may involve packaging and labeling and so forth. Um, and so we work very closely with like Defense Contract Management Agency. Or how do you connect with them? And making sure you're connecting with the right people, making sure that your accounting systems are in order prior to winning the contract, I should say. I should add that. You always want to make sure your accounting systems are in order. And called there's the Defense Contract Audit Agency. They have a lot of good training right on their website. You could just like Google DCAA. They will not come to a business upon your request. They won't come on industry's request. The only time they'll ever go audit a business if an agency actually requests them to go audit them. And nobody wants an I got you moment. So that's why on their website for small businesses in particular, they have some great webinars and guidance on how to be compliant. Okay. Nobody wants a gotcha moment because it's good to do this when you're early on in your business in particular, because that's when you have, how shall we say, less buildup, if you will, as you're growing your business, right? So you get that compliance and that understanding on how to separate costs on different contracts and so forth, and you get that set up front. That's fantastic. That will help you in the long run. This is a brag sheet of our Apex Accelerator program nationwide. Again, through the Office of Small Business Programs of the DOW, last year, and they're getting ready to come out with a new call. We just had a data call, with 55 million in funding from Congress, over 90 centers. We assisted over $26,000, or excuse me, 26,000 small business clients enter into the defense and government industrial base. That's, 100 clients a day, which is outstanding. And 35% of those are working in critical technology areas, which is equally important. The number of training events we hosted collectively was out of control. 24 per day, across the nation. And then the amount of contracts and subcontracts awarded was fantastic. Over 500,000 and over 64 billion worth of contracts. So, Congress, who supports this program, loves the program. The ROI is there. And we continue to work with you, industry and small business, to make sure that you're getting the support you need as you're looking to find a path to selling to the government or expanding your existing path, and finding other ways and other places to sell to the government, or you have those complex issues that come up as well. We are happy to say that we had a great success story through our center that was acknowledged nationwide. And this is an innovative technology. This is a company that's in the R&D stage, right? Circle Optics. They have a commercial product and are transforming it into something that will assist in the battlefield. So this is very well acknowledged. In fact, we just had our site visit from headquarters in DC, and it was very exciting for them to, come and see the products and its development. There's been a lot invested through the government into the transformation of this product because they've got a couple iterations now, and they're getting ready to commercialize. So very excited for them. Okay, so there are some very critical, important updates for you out there in terms of the defense industrial base in particular that I want to share with you. And one of them is, as I mentioned, the Cyber Security Maturity Model Certification, or CMMC. There's also the Federal Acquisition, or the FAR, overhaul. And then there's Section 851, and there's something else that goes along with Section 851 that's quite interesting, and really an opportunity, if you will. But as you can see here for CMMC in the very small print, the DOW published its Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification Rule on September 10th of last year, with the requirements taking effect in November. It was a 3-year rollout, making cybersecurity compliance standard in all DOW contracts. So Project Spectrum is the cornerstone resource funded through DOW, partially funded through DOW for compliance support. And then the Federal Acquisition Council launched a page on acquisition.gov for the ongoing FAR overhaul, and it's driven by Executive Order 14275. And so it's aiming to simplify the FAR by removing non-statutory procedural language. So there's a whole lot going on there right now. When you can't sleep at night, read the FAR. That's what I like to say. And then there's Section 851, which I'll touch upon, and that's foreign. It goes to the foreign ownership, control, and influence that an entity can directly or indirectly get caught up with in terms of the company's management. So we'll talk a little bit about that a little further. So the pause in CMMC Phase 2 was announced recently. Well, that created some chaos in some small businesses that weren't reading carefully and thought, oh, CMMC, the whole CMMC is on pause. And it's like, no, it's not, or been eliminated. And no, it hasn't. So I'm here to just kind of foot stomp that cybersecurity is critically important. Continue on the path to cybersecurity. So the certification timeline's on pause, but your cybersecurity obligations are not. So that's very important. So the memo that was issued basically pauses the transition to Phase 2. Now, why did they do that? Phase 2, if any of you were looking into Phase 2 and going that route, Phase 2 basically was costing small business up to and around $100,000 plus annual fees. So it was out of control. So what it doesn't do, it does not eliminate existing cybersecurity requirements for the defense industrial base. What still applies are all the Phase 1 requirements, including Level 1 and Level 2 self-assessments, not third parties. It was these third-party assessments that were costing tens and hundreds of $1,000s. There's the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation that applies and remains in effect, which is 252.204-7012. And it really kind of piggybacks off of the NIST requirement. So NIST 800-171. So that's the self-assessment that's required. And that's what's utilized to upload in a DOW system, lovingly known as SPURS. There's another acronym for you, which is something that the Apex can walk you through, okay? And also, importantly, large prime contractors may still establish and most likely and enforce cyber expectations. I mean, if you're working on a component that's going in a jet that Lockheed Martin's building, you better bet your bottom dollar there's going to be cybersecurity enforced on you capturing or transferring any of that data back and forth or the drawings and so forth. So your score still matters. Project Spectrum remains no cost, DOW supported resource to help strengthen your cybersecurity posture. A little bit about the Revolutionary FAR Overhaul Overview, known as the RFO. Because we've given our acronyms. So the RFO was initiated, as I mentioned, under the executive order restoring common sense to federal procurement. The goal, rewrite the FAR in plain language, strip out non-statutory or overly prescriptive requirements, and really to help move purchasing faster. Okay, so providing that practical guidance in the buying guides. And the overhaul is just, again, making procurement faster, simpler, more accessible, especially to small business, newer and non-traditional contractors. Okay, sorry, I had to take some water. This is important. The 1260H list. So if I was a small business and wondering, and a manufacturer thinking of getting manufacturing or building something or discovering something or coming up with something that the government needs, I would review the 1260H list, okay? That contains essentially entities identified as Chinese military companies operating in the United States. And so it's really important that that you look at that list and see maybe where you could fit. Okay. So this is kind of the timeline in terms of the 1260H and DoD's ban on Chinese military linked companies. It is in effect as of June 30th, 2026. They restricted, the DoD is restricted from directly contracting with companies in the section 1260H list of Chinese military companies. And that's why if you're providing any type of product to any DoD component, you will have to have traceability. Okay. You will have to in writing and have assurances if you're ever audited that your products are American made. Okay. And if you say, well, Anna, nobody in the United States makes this particular board, electronics board, well, okay, maybe, but you better let your contracting officer know that that's where you're at. So basically, hiding things from your contracting officer, bad. Open communication, very good. Okay. So in June 30th of 2027, so next year, the restriction expands to cover goods and services produced or developed by those entities, even indirectly through the supply chain. Okay. Why does it matter? Because it's wrecking our supply chain and we have to have visibility and compliance. So we're protecting what is our own. There are waivers, but they require compelling justification and a phase out plan. And really just helping, again, it's the path to strengthening the U.S. industrial base, okay, and reducing that strategic risk, mitigating that as much as possible. So the idea is build with trusted suppliers, enable that end-to-end traceability, maintaining digital build records, designed for resilience and rapid redesign, if you will, and deliver speed compliance and national security. So they're very, very serious about that. And now Section 851, which piggybacks on 1260H. Okay. Again, the Chinese owned companies. So what this says is lobbyists here in the center that can represent both a 1260H entity and a defense industrial base supplier, whether you're a prime or a sub, it doesn't matter what tier, is a no-go. Okay. And the lobbyists will have the same fate. So you'll get in trouble. Small business will get, or your business will get in trouble. The lobbyists will get in trouble. They're prohibited from linking through a lobbyist and working with the same people. So trusted supply chains, they're working for those trusted relationships. So that's what Section 851 does, which is now in effect, building off that 1260H list. All right. So what are those key components to become defense industrial base ready or government industrial base ready? The how is getting you registered in System for Award Management, SAM.gov. There are many fake sites out there. SAM is free. Hopefully no one's ever paid for it. And get you registered in links. Get your CMMC level 1. Probably have to reverse those two. And then there's a certification known as JCP for unclassified drawings, non-critical unclassified drawings. It's a program joint. Why is it a joint program? It's a program between the U.S. and Canada because our defense agencies work closely together. And so there are certain things that they only want produced or manufactured in the US and Canada and only have access to those drawings. So that's a requirement that you will need. That one doesn't cost you any money. SAM doesn't cost you any money. Links doesn't cost you any money. CMMC level 1, if you're able to work with your Apex and support of Project Spectrum, shouldn't cost you any money. ITAR, International Traffic in Arms Registration, has to deal with anything, any drawings related to munitions, and there's a whole munitions list related to that. That one costs money. That's done through the Department of State. They think every single manufacturer or business that and educational institutions even that work, oops, excuse me, didn't mean to lean on that slide, will be required to have that. However, it's really important that if you want to do some work and have access to certain drawings, you need to have that. And I think like for a small business, it's a little under $3,000 a year. Is there a guarantee that you're going to get a job if you have ITAR? No. Can you bid on a job without having ITAR and get access to those drawings? No. So it's kind of like a chicken and egg situation, right? And you're taking a risk on where you want to invest your money if you want to do business with defense. And, in terms of those certifications and registrations. And then there is the certifications. And by that, I don't just mean like the small business certifications, like I'm woman owned, HubZone, 8A, of service disabled veteran. My 8A is minority owned for the federal government. And then there's New York State, which has MWBE, also has the service disabled veteran owned certification. So those is what people usually think about certifications. However, again, there's AS 9100, there's ISO certifications. So, you got to kind of tip your hat to our manufacturers that are required to have those in order to work with like a Lockheed Martin or an L3 Harris or any large prime that's doing critical work at the defense industrial base. They won't even be considered without that. We partner every year with Lockheed on their supplier event that they do, and they reach out to us and say, hey, we're looking for these small businesses with these particular NAICS codes and these particular certifications. And so this year, everyone had to have AS 9100. And that costs money. Okay, we know that. But that means it has to do with aerospace. Okay, so anything on a plane, you just don't want anybody saying, well, the tolerance is close enough. It's like, no, we don't want that. We want the tolerance to be spot on. So, unfortunately, yeah, there's that piece there. And then we're going to work with you on the knowledge base and getting those federal acquisition regulations. So, you're looking at this and it says FAR and DFARS. DFARS is the Defense Supplemental Federal Acquisition Regulation, and every agency has their own supplemental federal acquisition regulation. So the other things, we're going to focus on and you need to know about, and I didn't go into too much depth today, is the Buy American Act, understanding trade agreements and how that impacts, what percentage of your components have to be made in the U.S. or, can I use components from a country that we do have trade agreements with and so forth. And, our main goal is to get you bidding and winning and being successful in the government marketplace. And, I put these photos here just to remind you of what we do it for. And that is to ultimately protect our warfighter and anybody else that's working in the government and making sure they've got the right tools in their hands that we're selling, to them. So this is just a quick eye chart. There's so much more, but I want to simplify it. We don't want to make it overwhelming. And when you work with your Apex Accelerator, these are the steps we're going to walk you through one at a time. You don't have to remember everything right now. It's, today's, if you've never heard my spiel before, today's like drinking water out of a fire hose, right? But never fear. This is by design made to work with you. We're boots on the ground, made to work with you one-on-one. So this is the event that's coming up with our 6th annual Congressman Joe Morelli and Monroe County Executive Adam Bello, Government Contracting Forum and Matchmaker. We will have federal and state agencies participating. It's a great event. We have some great speakers that will be in town. Last year we held a huge event, but it's a traveling event. It's the DOD's Northeast Regional Council. That the council itself, which I'm part of, includes New York and the New England states. And last year it was in New York. This year was in Maine. Next year it'll be in Massachusetts. So we'll have more information on that coming up on our website. But this year it's a one-day event, not a two-day event. The morning will be panel discussions. You'll hear from John McCanney, who's director of the DOW Cybersitter art program. You'll hear from DASW, Deputy Assistant Secretary of War, Director for Industrial Base Growth. Director James Mismash will be there, headlining. Of course, the Congressman will be there. The Congressman is a great supporter of the government and defense industrial base. He serves on the House Appropriations Committee for Defense. Strong supporter throughout the region. And a lot of people, just like talking to him. I know he gets a lot of outreach from Syracuse and Buffalo. So he's a very popular guy. We do have a prep training course for this event. It's on September 30th at 10 a.m. So what will we talk about at that event? It's going to talk about making sure you have a government capability statement ready, making sure that you understand the process of doing business with the government, treating this like a job interview, and making sure that they understand who you are and you're coming to them with a value proposition and you're understanding them. So this is our website. If you are located in our territory, please do sign up and for free one-on-one counseling. And this is my team. We're happy, and so it's girl power here. But these guys are great with lots of experience as a team under the belt, whether it's registrations, certifications, contract support and so forth. So with that, I think we have time for a couple questions. I'm sorry I talked so long, but I will stop sharing and go from there. Let's see if we have any questions. I'll check the chat, I guess. Or if you have any questions, just simply unmute yourself and ask. And I'll put my email in the chat. So, yeah. There it is. Don't hesitate to reach out. So, yeah. So Danielle, I think doesn't look like we have any questions.
You've answered everything. So we really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for your time today.
Actually,
Oh, no, go ahead.
sorry,
There's one in
it
the
does
Just got a
chat.
question, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yes, in the chat, if you can see it there.
Let's see. Okay, Kelly. Hi, Kelly. You have a startup in biomanufacturing. Okay. Where are you located, Kelly? You're in Buffalo? Well, that would be us. We cover Buffalo. So, first thing I would do is just go to our website, which I'm just going to put the link in here. Hold on. And sign up, and we'll get you assigned appropriately to a counselor to get the ball moving. All right, here it comes finally. There you go. I know it's a lot of information, right? It's crazy. You're welcome. All right. Any
All
other
right.
questions?
Well, thank you. If you have any other additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out by email and we will connect you with Anna and her team. We will also make this recording available afterwards. So if you want to go back and just, if you missed something and rewatch it, we'll make sure you have it. And Anna, thank you so much to you and your team for all of your time today and sharing your expertise.
Thank you so much for having us. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.